Welcome to the Juice Box with Juice Springsteen, covering the week that was in professional wrestling. And welcome once again to another edition of the Juice Box. I am Juice Springsteen, and one hell of a week we just had that I will dive into the nitty-gritty of it all here in just a moment here on the Juice Box. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at JuicySteen. On Instagram, you can find me at Juicy Wrestling Closet. You can listen to the Juice Box on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, YouTube at JuicySteen, where you'll find the RSS feed. Every single time the feed updates, it will go straight to YouTube as well. And of course, juicysteen.podbean.com. Shout out to Podbean for hosting this podcast for over a year and a half now. If you do listen to it on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts via iTunes, if you can drop by those spots and throw a little 5-star review or even write a review about the show, that would really benefit the show moving forward. A lot, like I said, to get into. We're going to cover, of course, the week that was in regards to Money in the Bank, leading into Monday Night Raw, which was pretty solid. Additionally, AEW on Wednesday was pretty damn good. So, and they've got a lot of stuff cooking as well. They have the 250th episode of Dynamite next week, and I will run that card down for you once we get into that realm of the Juice Box. Additionally, of course, they've got Blood and Guts, I believe, the following week, which is July 24th, if I'm not mistaken. And then a whole, I believe, month before they get to All In. Let me get the date on that. I'll make sure I get that, because I believe that's August 25th. Yes. August 25th will be that show. So, we'll touch on all that as well. We've got SummerSlam coming up in less than a month. Cleveland, Ohio. That should be, they say the biggest party of the summer. We'll see. We'll see what matches come to fruition in regards to SummerSlam. Right now, 2 matches, one match is definitively set up. So, we'll see how things kind of play out. We get the Money in the Bank briefcase, at least for half of, the realm of Money in the Bank are able to be cashed in. That's the women's side. We, of course, had the Drew McIntyre cash in and fail. So we'll talk about all those types of things in regards to SummerSlam. But I'm pretty sure, I want to make sure I get this as well. So, with Money in the Bank, I was on this show. First of all, thank you so much to Josh Eisenberg, who last week not only contributed to the Money in the Bank prediction show, which was a lot of fun, but we also deep dove and threw a straw into the Juice Box for our love of Seinfeld, celebrating the 35th anniversary of Seinfeld debuting July 5th, 1989. That was one hell of a show to record. I enjoyed so much being able to discuss, our favorite seasons, our favorite episodes, some moments that we really loved talking about, and yada, yada, yada. It's always great to talk to Josh about, wrestling, let alone Seinfeld. That's pretty much one of the biggest reasons why we're such close friends is, wrestling is how I knew him, but once I found out he was a Seinfeld guy, and then to the level that he is, and vice versa, I think that really solidified our bond. So it was really cool having him on for both those shows last week. I'm looking forward to him being a part of the SummerSlam prediction show as well. The Juicebox umbrella, as it were, will be gaining a little bit of content. I will explain more probably next week, if not... No, probably next week I'll discuss it. And then, because that's when I will... post things on socials and we'll get things cooking there. But it's another little piece of content that the content will be published under the Juicebox in the RSS feed, but it's a separate show from the Juicebox, if that makes sense. I am pushing it. I will upload it, but there's two guys that are working to do that particular show. I will hop in every now and again to do episodes of that show, and we'll discuss as we move forward. Like I said, probably next week is when I will really kind of deep dive into what is going on with that little piece of business, which I've been looking forward to for quite a while now. So it's going to be nice to get that first episode out, at least the pilot episode, and then we'll throw out the real episode as well to the RSS feed, potentially for SummerSlam week. We'll see. Triple Threat Theater, episode 5 of Triple Threat Theater, will probably, hopefully, be recorded sooner than later, and maybe that could be around SummerSlam as well. We'll have to see, but either way, Triple Threat Theater 5 will be coming out sooner rather than later. I still have a couple of Sip Series items to hopefully get recorded, so we'll touch on that as well. Outside of that, I think that's pretty much everything in yours truly's realm of this space. Doing this, doing that. Catch me on Twitter, Juicy Steen, and we can discuss more wrestling, more Seinfeld as it dictates. So, of course, let's get to Money in the Bank. This show is crazy. We have a lot to discuss. So let's talk about it. First and foremost, we had the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. Crazy match. Chad Gable hanging off of a ladder. Among other just crazy spots. Although I think the women had a little bit of a gnarlier edge to the match in regards to spots and what happened overall. But Drew McIntyre does get the victory by retrieving the briefcase, of course. And, I thought maybe there's an outside shot at Jey Uso. If not, a surprise would be Carmelo Hayes. It was not to be. Drew McIntyre does win. We'll discuss his exploits later on. Sami Zayn defeated Braun Breaker by pin to retain his IC title. I've got mixed feelings on this. I really thought the move was just to have Braun Breaker mow him down. Let's just get Braun the title. He's ascending. He's having, quality matches, great TV interactions, big moments on TV each week. Him running around the ring and all these different things. So for him to have all that momentum and, not win, not cash in on said momentum, at least first, slightly disappointed. But, Sami Zayn is the guy that dethroned Gunther. And, I mentioned it to Josh, Josh last week. The guy who takes Undertaker's streak, you got to have him be worth something. The guy that takes out Gunther, he's got to be worthwhile as well to consider, how long, 666 days that Gunther was champion. You would like to see the person that took it off him have a little bit of longevity. So maybe Braun Breaker's in the cards later on for the IC title. Maybe he gets a rematch at SummerSlam. I really don't know what they're going to do. So we'll find out. But I think there's a decent chance you get a multi-man match, maybe a fatal four-way for the IC title. And if that's the case, Sheamus, Braun Breaker, Sami Zayn, Bronson Reed maybe. And then if that happens, Sami Zayn can lose, not take the pinfall, title's gone. Sami could get stretchered out, comes back for, the bloodline later on in the year. So I think that could absolutely work. We'll just see how they play it out, to be honest. We also had Damian Priest defeating Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre by pinfall. This is some interesting stuff. So there was a little bit of a snafu. I believe it was more of the referee's error, which of course was clarified by Triple H. These things happen. There's no need to, chastise a missed call. I mean, how many times has that happened in sport? True, real sport. No problem with that. But I think it was a tad off with the music cue, so there was a 2 count that was easily a 3, but the referee stopped the count. No music hit, and it was more of a confusion. Either way, McIntyre gets in, cashes in. It becomes a triple threat match, which I'm hearkening back to Michael Cole and his call of the WrestleMania 31 Lesnar Reigns main event where Rollins cashed in, which had never been done before like that. And that's why, Lillian Garcia says it's now a triple threat match. And Michael Cole says, a triple threat match? You never would think, oh, he's just now in the match. There's no DQ. I can do whatever I want. So McIntyre has that happen. He gets in there. CM Punk comes out, beats the tar out of Drew McIntyre, costs Drew the match. Priest retains the title. Priest stays with the Judgment Day. Rollins can never challenge for the title again as long as Priest is champion. However, that was all reneged this past week on Raw. Presumably because of the mess up of the finish. I would say that they kind of left in this little Damian Priest won, but he got lucky and CM Punk caused it all. So Priest will then say, hey, you got real close and you're a hell of a competitor, and if I'm still champion, through SummerSlam, you can also, I'll give you another shot. I think it's kind of an empty gesture. Honestly, I think it was just an empty gesture. Story based, not Damian Priest. I think in story he would legitimately do it, but I think it was put there due to how the match turned out, and it wasn't perfect. So it is what it is. We'll talk about more with Drew and CM Punk and Seth and Damian later on here with Raw. The best Money in the Bank match all weekend, of course, there's only 2, but the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. Tiffany Stratton defeats Io Sky, Lyra, Naomi, Zoe Stark, Chelsea Green. Chelsea Green takes one of the craziest bumps you'll see, falling off a ladder from inside the ring, taking a back bump without really looking to the floor through 2 tables. Matt Cardona said it best. Of course, that's Chelsea Green's wife. Good Lord, husband. Although, see, I think I had that slip because every time Chelsea wins something, like whenever she was one half of the women's tag champions, Matt Cardona would then say, "I'm one half of the women's tag champions," and he was going to be one half of the Money in the Bank. So that's where I got that all confused. I guess I got confused. But Tiffany wins, and Matt Cardona put it best in regards to Chelsea, and she didn't go over in the match, like she didn't win, but she got over in the match by, like, everybody's talking about Chelsea and how great of a spot that was and how impressive she looked all around in the match. I tend to agree with Matt. I think if you get over, that's way more important than winning the match, regardless. If you don't win but you get over, I think that's huge. So it is indeed Tiffy time. As of record time, with SmackDown looming tonight, I believe that Tiffany Stratton could very well have a pink briefcase. I'm looking forward to seeing when she cashes in. And then we had the 6-man tag, the Bloodline, get the win. Look, I was 4 for 5 on these predictions, and the only prediction I got incorrect was the one I thought was the most as a lock. Sami Zayn and Braun Breaker. But I had Jacob Fatu doing something to Cody to where Solo gets the pin on Cody. I had Tiffany winning. I had Damian Priest cashing in, or winning, even though McIntyre cashes in, getting thwarted by CM Punk. So Cody takes the pin from Solo. And now, again, we'll find out tonight. But seemingly, it will be Solo Sikoa versus Cody Rhodes at SummerSlam. But we shall see. It's, I don't know. I think that's enough. I think that's good enough for Cody and for a high-profile title match. I wouldn't hate some sort of a triple threat, but there's no one really in there to make that work. But I do, we're not going to do the predictions just yet. The match hasn't even happened yet, or even been announced. But I do think we are on the precipice of a Roman Reigns return to the ring. So hopefully that is something we will look forward to. We had a promo for the next PLE to happen after SummerSlam. That's not Bash in Berlin. I don't know if there's a September show or not, but October 5th, I believe, will be WWE Bad Blood from Atlanta, State Farm Arena. It's the 4th Bad Blood event of all time, and it's going to take place on the exact 27th anniversary of In Your House Bad Blood, where the first Hell in a Cell match took place. A fantastic promo between Cody Rhodes and Metro Boomin, the hip-hop producer, to get hyped for the show. It's in Atlanta. I'm sure Metro will be there. So, looking forward to Bad Blood returning. Again, I've got a feeling that Hell in a Cell will be used. Not sure if it'll be Drew and Punk. It's going to be interesting because if you assume War Games are going to happen again at Survivor Series, that's the next month. A cage and then 2 cages back to back. They're not, they would do it. I don't think it's too crazy, but we'll see. Oh, and by the way, I would be remiss in the middle of Money in the Bank, randomly. Oh, the 16-time world champion John Cena comes out to the ring holding his trademark towel that only states, and I quote, "The last time is now." So we were like, what the hell is going on? And he, comes into the ring and pretty, comfortably, confidently states that he is going to retire from WWE as an in-ring competitor. Of course, I don't think Cena will ever not come back as an ambassador or what have you, or make appearances. But I think as a wrestler, I think he truly means that this is it. However, he stated that it would happen at the end of 2025. So, certain points that he referenced in there. He wants to be a part of the first Raw that's on Netflix, January. It could be January 1st. Let me see. Am I crazy here? No. It would likely be on January 6th, 2025. Because I think the last Raw before that would be on the 30th. So he says that he'll be there for the first Raw on Netflix, which is pretty cool. Who knows what the hell he'll say? He will take place, he will be taking part in his final Royal Rumble match. So assuming John Cena has declared for the Royal Rumble. So who knows? Maybe he will win that. We'll get into that here in a moment. He also says he will be at the Elimination Chamber PLE next February. And he then stated, pretty much because I would say there's not a direct PLE calendar set for past WrestleMania just yet. So he doesn't want to say where he's going to go. He knows the first three, whatever. That WrestleMania 41 in Las Vegas, April 19th, April 20th, will be his last as an in-ring competitor. That's not to say that that match will be his last match, but it will be his final match at WrestleMania. A lot to unpack here. Who is Cena's final opponent at WrestleMania? Could John Cena win the Royal Rumble one more time? Will John Cena win his 17th world title, surpassing Ric Flair? Will John Cena turn heel? A lot of pertinent questions that, quite frankly, I don't have the answers to. I could speculate and give some ideas. Let's start with the matches. CM Punk already mentioned it this past week on Raw as he opened the show with a promo that he would love to have one more match with John Cena. I think that's a lock. I think you have to have that now that Punk's back. I think it's perfect timing. Give me CM Punk versus John Cena one more time. I think Randy Orton versus John Cena is more than in the cards. I don't think you'll see Edge versus Cena, as unfortunate as that is. However, if any person could do that, be a part of AEW, but wrestle John Cena, I think Edge, Adam Copeland could do it. I'm not going to be the one to say that it's going to happen, though. Cody Rhodes, I think, versus John Cena would be epic. That's where I lead into the back half of what I prophesized here. Could John Cena turn heel in this final run? Could you imagine? I know it's not the traditional Cena where you're going to get your farewell tour. I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of merch. I'm sure they've designed the merch already. I'm sure it's all lined up. But to me, I would love for Cena to just somehow turn heel. I'm going to lock it into another part of this whole thing. I'm not going to necessarily say that Cena will win the Rumble for a third time, because he won it in 2013 and 2008, of course, the Madison Square Garden return of a lifetime. And then he won in 2013 to face The Rock at WrestleMania, which, in my eyes, still should have been a triple threat. I'm here for Cena Rock 3, but that could probably only happen at WrestleMania, and I think Rock and Roman is going to happen at WrestleMania, so that's out of the picture. Cena already had a match with Roman at SummerSlam 21, so we're fine with that. No Taker, no Triple H, no Shawn Michaels. Maybe Carmelo Hayes. I think that'd be pretty cool. I would like to see John Cena versus Sheamus. Sheamus is the guy that took out Cena in 2009 as a rookie to win the WWE title for the first time in that tables match at TLC. So I don't think that would be too crazy. That'd be pretty cool. Even if he just gets a match, I'd love to see a couple matches with these guys throughout the time here. So I don't think Cena's going to win the Royal Rumble. However, I think there's a chance, if he doesn't, that he could win the Elimination Chamber match. Either way, I think John Cena is set for a world title opportunity at WrestleMania 41. And I think he should win that 17th world title at WrestleMania 41. It would be epic. It would be kind of heartwarming, knowing that it's his last year and that it'll have to end at some point. But how great will it be that he could win the title at Mania, lose it at SummerSlam, and then just have an amazing, legit farewell tour, house shows, maybe one big final PLE match down the line. I don't know. So that I think is very doable as well. But the heel turn thing, imagine if he goes into WrestleMania and to win the world title, he turns heel. How ridiculous would that be? That would. Whew. It's something I would want. A lot of fans have always wondered, Not that it was necessary or really needed. We know the Cena brand works, and I can never question them running with it how they have. This is why this moment in this retirement is so huge. John Cena is, I would say, on the Mount Rushmore for WWE superstars. I think it's pretty fair for it to be, what is it? Cena. I'd have Cena, Austin, Hogan, and it's tough. I mean, you could put Undertaker in there. There's a lot of different people in there, but I think Hogan, Undertaker, Steve Austin, John Cena would pretty much be the WWE Mount Rushmore if you had to pick one. All time, I don't have enough time for that today. So John Cena is going to retire. I think it's a pretty cool thing to just randomly happen on a Money in the Bank show, and now we're going to get a lot of cool, interesting stuff here to end 2024, I'm sure, with the quote-unquote current product, and then 2025, Raw goes to Netflix, Mania's in Vegas, Cena's bowing out one more year of wrestling. It's going to be one hell of a time. So, looking forward to that. I will just make a couple of quick notes regarding the show that followed Money in the Bank, also from Scotiabank Arena. NXT Heatwave. We really don't talk NXT too much on here, but certain things need to be discussed, so I will happily discuss them. A lot of solid matches. I thought Money in the Bank edged out Heatwave just by a little bit in regards to quality of matches throughout the night. But I will mention the final match, Shawn Spears, Trick Williams, Javon Evans, and Ethan Page, Fatal 4-Way for the NXT title. A wonderful callback of sorts to the Backlash 2007 finish that had Edge, Orton, Cena, and Shawn Michaels, where a move happens, another move happens, a third move happens, and the guy who got laid out first gets pinned by the guy who gets laid out last by just kind of falling on him. It's a genius way for it to happen. And Ethan Page, all ego, Ethan Page wins the NXT title. You know, AEW's loss is NXT's gain. We will discuss that further here in a moment as well. The end of Heatwave, we saw a flash of Joe Hendry again. So we got that getting ready to roll. So NXT's also kind of on fire, as you can see here. WWE's kind of firing on all cylinders. We'll discuss the biggest free agent signing here in a moment, but I want to discuss Raw real quick. So, Raw this past week. CM Punk, of course, started the show. He comes out. Seth Rollins comes out. They go back and forth with basically two promos echoing the actions have consequences, you know, and because CM Punk didn't just screw over Drew McIntyre. He really screwed over Seth Rollins because Seth Rollins didn't win the world title. So seemingly you'll get Punk McIntyre at SummerSlam. Rollins is really the interesting piece here. I don't know what Seth Rollins will do at SummerSlam, at least looking at it from this angle. I don't know what he's got cooking yet. So we'll see. CM Punk also with a little jab at AEW. Looking around, pointing out pieces of the crowd where he'll wrestle anybody, and he says, look, there's people on the other side of the camera, which is clearly a jab at the empty hard cam side of a lot of AEW shows that fans love taking photos of and posting. Additionally, Jey Uso versus Chad Gable. Good Lord, the Wyatt Six trying to take me out. Gable loses, but then we get the lights go out, and it was the Wyatt Six. Well, it really was just Abby the Witch, a.k.a. Nikki Cross, coming from under the ring, scaring Chad Gable, giving another videotape to Pat McAfee, who is back. Shout out to Pat McAfee. Nice to see him back after a little family emergency of sorts. But I find it interesting that Jey Uso, a couple of times now, has kind of just escaped the Wyatt Six, just barely, just narrowly getting out of danger. Which, could it be a coincidence that he also has been utilizing, quote, the Fireflies for his entrance where he does the yeet, dance? I think it's a pretty cool little twist if that's something that they're trying to intertwine. Bronson Reed, Pete Dunne, like I said, Bronson Reed got the win, and it looks like Reed, Sheamus are coming down the pike. Maybe we'll get that for a Fatal 4-Way. Like I said, the gentleman's agreement for Priest and Rollins is gone. So, I don't know. We also got Ilya Dragunov involved. Him and Braun had a little piece of business. Where, Ilya gets the win via DQ. We might get some more matches next week. It could be a 6-pack challenge for all I know for the Intercontinental title. There's a lot of interesting pieces. Maybe you get Ilya, Sammy, Braun at the PLE for the IC title. Also, we had the main event, which did not disappoint. The biggest return until Roman Reigns returns happened in this main event. You got Dom Mysterio, Liv Morgan tagging with a lot of hesitation from Dom. He didn't want to be in this match, but going against Zelina Vega and Rey Mysterio, Liv and Dom get the win. As this happens, Liv jumps on top of Dom to celebrate, and as they're moments away, if not did kiss, this is my brutality, hit the airwaves. That's my terrible motionless in white rendition here, as I tried not to, scare the neighborhood away or blow out my microphone or blow out the eardrums of all of you that are listening. But Rhea Ripley comes down. Liv gets the hell out of there, and Rhea stares at Dom as we go off the air. So it's pretty simple booking after all this time, but it seems like we're going to get Liv versus Rhea at SummerSlam. Looking forward to that, and I'm hopeful that the right thing is called. I'm not sure if you want Dom to turn on Rhea. Because right now it's being played as, he's just kind of... He didn't want to be a part of this. He didn't want to be a part of this thing with Liv, and he's kind of, lack of a better term, thrust into it. And as soon as anything, gets cooking, mommy's back, so... Phew. A lot of interesting stuff going on these days on Monday Night Raw. So I'm looking forward to next week. We also got a little bit of a Gunther pre-tape promo where he says, "I enjoy making people miserable. I cannot wait." Gunther, Damian Priest will be happening at SummerSlam for the World Heavyweight title. And then Bayley and Nia Jax will be going one-on-one for the WWE Women's title. So, a lot going on in the realm of WWE with Money in the Bank happening. We got SummerSlam just in the foreseeable future here. Of course, Bash in Berlin will be after that, but WWE, NXT, really firing on all cylinders. I'll mention this little nugget of free agency in a moment, but before that, even one of the better announcers in the sports realm, more or less boxing, Joe Tessitore is hired by WWE. Boxing, college football, Monday Night Football. I remember him, in the boxing world. Remember hearing his voice as the commentator during matches when I'd play Fight Night in Fight Night Round 2. Those video games back in the day. I loved those early 2000s boxing games. So Joe Tessitore being a part of the group now, I would wager he's going to be a part of maybe SmackDown going forward. So I just loading up with quality commentators, talent, just all around talent in general. So cool to see Joe Tessitore doing that and hopping on over to WWE. And before we go into AEW, I will mention the biggest signee, the biggest free agent this past week, Stephanie Vaquer, who just had one of the best matches at Forbidden Door against the CEO, Mercedes Moné. It was rumored, she's done with CMLL. It's going to be interesting to see where she lands. And within like a day or two, it was heavily reported, Sean Ross Sapp, across the board, a lot of reports saying that she was on her way to potentially WWE. And then Shawn Michaels himself posts, "Looking forward to seeing you." And it is true. Stephanie Vaquer, welcome to the WWE family. And he adds her, "See you in Orlando." I would say she's absolutely going to be in the 2025 Women's Royal Rumble. I could see her winning the NXT Women's title by the end of the year. It just seems like there's a lot on the table for someone with her stature and her ability. And for, AEW to have a shot. They had her for this great match. Oh, WWE took her. And why would you not take the deal? If you're Stephanie Vaquer, why would you not take the deal? If you want to become a WWE superstar, I believe she tried out 5 or 6 years ago. This is where you want to be. I mean, you can go to AEW and come back to WWE. You can bounce at this point with these regimes. You could go to wherever you want and hone your craft and be great at what you do, and no one's gonna really bat an eye at that. So, good for Stephanie Vaquer, bad for AEW. Let's talk about AEW as we begin to close things down here on the Juice Box. With the NXT TNA partnership going on, it's tough when AEW gets a Stephanie Vaquer and then, gone. So, but AEW's got a lot of their own strong women's talent, and we saw that on full display. On this past episode of Dynamite, where we, of course, had the Owen Hart tournament. Bryan Danielson defeats Hangman Adam Page, and now we will get Hangman. Well, actually, no, we'll get Bryan Danielson challenging Swerve Strickland for the AEW World Title, which should be fantastic. And we'll get to some more here with Hangman and Swerve in a moment. The Nigel McGuinness thing, I would have thought that they would have had a match at Wembley, but seemingly that's not going to happen. So who knows what they're going to play with those two if Nigel is actually going to wrestle and maybe get cleared here. Stampede Street Fight Joe Jericho. Jericho wins by loading Samoa Joe on a forklift and running him through a wall. It was interesting. It was really interesting. So that's all I really got. It was probably the most fascinating stuff that the Learning Tree has done in a while outside of Big Bill. I'm a big advocate for Big Bill. He's one hell of a job. We had Pac winning the Global Glory 4-Way, where now Pac wins the opportunity at the international title, which is held at this time by Will Ospreay. And we'll get to that in a moment as well. Owen Hart Foundation Women's Final, Mariah May, Willow Nightingale. Mariah May dressed in pink and black. Willow Nightingale dressed as the Nation of Domination. Owen, I loved this so much. Of course, before this, Mercedes Moné tried to cut a promo for a celebration of her being a double champion. She destroyed Bret Hart's catchphrase, and I don't know why they give her a mic every week. She's an incredible wrestler. Let her wrestle. It's where the best wrestle, not where the mediocre talk. But we get the big win from Mariah May. And you would think, man, Mariah May wins. She's going to go against her, her mentor and Toni Storm. And Toni Storm's going to defend her title against the protege. And it's going to be a great moment and a lot of respect. Nope. As soon as Mariah May grabs the Owen Hart title, takes out Toni Storm with it, beat up Luther with the belt as well, sent Luther through a bunch of tables on the outside. Toni Storm was bleeding at one point, and not only was bleeding from the belt shot, but then Mariah May used her shoe the heel of her shoe literally digging into the open wound of Toni Storm. A bloodied, crying Toni Storm begging why this is happening with Mariah May standing over top of her. What a final image to end AEW Dynamite this past week. A hot angle. Can you believe that? So Toni Storm defends her AEW Women's title against Mariah May in, quite honestly, a blood feud. We won't discuss the predictions for this show just yet. That'll be in a couple of weeks. But, man, just a wild, wild end to Dynamite this past week. We also have next week. So next week's huge for AEW. It is the 250th episode of AEW Dynamite, kicking off the show. Will Ospreay defends his international title against MJF, the rechristened heel MJF, which will be fantastic, I'm sure. Assuming Ospreay wins that match, he will defend against Pac at All In, which will be an amazing match, I'm sure. That's probably what I would want most, unless MJF would win. Maybe, Ricochet's been kind of hinted at, maybe. We'll see. Swerve Strickland did announce he's going to be joining Blood and Guts, but for Team AEW, as he is the AEW champion, which is amazing, because the Elite gained Hangman Adam Page, who is pissed off already, but pissed off coming off of a loss in the Owen Hart tournament. So it'll be the Young Bucks in the Elite. Well, it's the Elite with Hangman Adam Page. Okada, of course, in there as well. Man. Blood and Guts happening, with, I don't know. You get Blood and Guts is already an interesting concept. Of course, it's War Games. It is what it is. But for it to happen, when you have Hangman and Swerve, who are arguably the two, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. A lot of fans in the AEW world kind of consider, Swerve and Hangman as the Rock Austin of AEW, which, I have a tough time denying. It's tough to put such a levity on an entity that's only been around for so long, 5 years. So I could get on board with that as a feud. But for those two to kind of be on the opposite sides of Blood and Guts, we might get the most intense Blood and Guts match of all time. And it'll be interesting to see, what is Swerve gonna? What if Swerve takes a loss in Blood and Guts? Does that mean Hangman gets it maybe integrated into the world title picture? A lot of things could happen with Blood and Guts, but that will be in 2 weeks. Of course, 250 Dynamite 250 will be next week. So that'll be interesting. Next week as well. 250 episodes of Dynamite. We're going to get not only MJF versus Will Ospreay, we're going to get Swerve Strickland versus Kazuchika Okada. Champion against champion. Good Lord. So that's going to be something else too. I mean, the amount of... This has been a criticism as well, and a lot of people already going online and saying, wow, well, WCW failed, and you know why they failed? It was because Eric Bischoff gave away huge matches for free on TV. Why wasn't Hogan versus Goldberg on pay-per-view? Why when Luger defeated Hogan for the world title, why did that happen on Nitro and then he loses it on pay-per-view? why were so many things held off and never on pay-per-view, mostly on TV, and when you got to the pay-per-view, the undercard was great and the main event sucked. A lot of those criticisms are now coming towards Tony Khan and AEW, where, you're going to have Okada versus Swerve and MJF versus Will Ospreay for free, but to their credit, I'm sure they're going to pop a decent rating. I'm sure, their next big show is All In, pay-per-view rather, Blood and Guts is the following week. The show is sold on Blood and Guts. All In is going to be at Wembley with a ton of people there. That's going to happen. You don't really need to have these matches to be on pay-per-view. And it's 250. It's the 250th episode. They want to celebrate that. They're very close to surpassing Monday Nitro and how many episodes it ran. Because Nitro ran 288 episodes. So 39 more episodes for Dynamite, and they will surpass WCW Monday Nitro, which is a little unfortunate. But, good for AEW. I think that it's a good move to have quality matches on TV. Because, and I've said this too, every single AEW pay-per-view, I've bought probably 85% of them. The ones that I've been able to buy and I've been free for, open to watch them and available, I've bought them. And they're always kick-ass. They're fantastic. My money's always worth spending on AEW. So I have faith that All In and All Out will be fantastic. Go ahead and put Okada and Swerve on free TV. Go ahead and put MJF and Will Ospreay on free TV. Better for me, better for them, better for the fans. Hopefully better for the ratings. So we'll have to see about that. But, women's wrestling on fire right now. Stephanie Vaquer, the Toni Storm, Mariah May thing. Chelsea Green going through tables. Tiffy time with Tiffany Stratton winning the Money in the Bank. A lot of great women's stuff going on. We got John Cena retiring next year. Blood and Guts in 2 weeks. SummerSlam in 3 weeks. A lot of great pro wrestling going on these days. So if you're a pro wrestling fan right now, it is the best time to be such. So I think that's all I've got here for the Juice Box this week. I had a lot to go over this week for once. And quite frankly, I could have touched on a lot more in depth. So it is what it is. But as I said, next week I'll discuss the newest little piece of content coming to the Juice Box umbrella, if you will. Hopefully I'll have some more updates on Triple Threat Theater. Maybe a couple updates on a SIP series. Who knows? We'll see. Or any other appearances I might be making additionally as well. But other than that, you can still follow me on Twitter at JuicySteen. Instagram at Juicy Wrestling Closet. Subscribe to this podcast on YouTube at Juicy Steen. You can also find the show on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, juicysteen.podbean.com, and of course on Spotify, where if you listen to it there or on iTunes, please leave a rating and review. It really helps the show grow. So, looking forward to next week. We will absolutely discuss what happens tonight on SmackDown. Maybe some more SummerSlam matches coming to fruition here and coming to the fray. So we'll have more next week. But for this week, I am Juice Springsteen, and I will see you guys for another episode next week of The Juice Box. That was The Juice Box with Juice Springsteen. Make sure to subscribe to The Juice Box wherever you listen to podcasts.